Hello, everyone, and welcome to October of 2019. This is the October releases. This is actually, it's kind of a month that I'm really excited for. There's a lot of and I think the biggest thing for me, before we jump into things is there's a lot of really smaller games that I'm really excited to talk about today. But before we get into that, my name is Mike.
My name is Nick.
And I'm Travis.
Yeah, and so we all kind of brought an equal share, I think, of popular releases, but also this is one of the few months where I feel like we all kind of have smaller games, a little bit at least, that we're really excited to kind of talk about, which I always get excited for. There's the mainstream games that you expect us to talk about, but I like it when we touch on the little ones, and so, we're going to have a bit more of that than usual this week. So with that being said, who wants to start?
Travis does.
I want to start.
Do it.
Okay, so I have two games that I'm kind of excited for. It's one of them. I'll start with the one that it's always a curveball if I actually am excited for or not, and that's the next Call of Duty game coming out.
Yay!
I've heard, because CJ still buys every single Call of Duty and then usually regrets it. But
CJ, I'm face palming for you, man.
yeah. So he has been really excited over this game. I was actually just with him the other day talking about it, and he was saying how it is a Modern Warfare game, and they said that they are going to try and make it feel a little more like Modern Warfare. So they're bringing Spec Ops back, which I'm really excited about, because I always enjoy doing those with CJ, and then co-op with some of my other friends, because I just like doing missions, and then sometimes you control if you want to, or you can actually strategically try and do veteran.
Yeah.
I remember you and CJ were struggling on that for a stream.
Yeah, because we had two. Well, the issue is we have two very different play styles. I am very much a stealth goer when it goes to those type of things, and he is very much Rambo.
Wait a second, he's more Rambo than you? That makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I know. So when he goes Rambo mode, it really throws my stealth playstyle out of the window. But back to this Call of Duty game. They also said that they are planning on doing a 30-hour campaign, which that really excites me, because that's what put me into being a Call of Duty fan in the first place. Because I loved the Call of Duty 4 campaign, and I loved the Modern Warfare 2 campaign, and then they just kind of got weirder and weirder, and also half-assed every single time.
Yep, annual releases, man.
Yep. So when I heard that they're going back to that got me excited. What I'm not as excited about is multiplayer is always just an issue in terms of snipers are always overpowered, because you can always do the quick aim shot, and then because it's a sniper, it's a one-hit kill pretty much, and you're just gonna die so quickly with them. But then, it's Activision, so loot boxes are probably a thing, and loot boxes ruin fun sometimes.
Yeah, this is where we have to warn you guys. Yes, it is Modern Warfare, and yes, nostalgia is awesome, and you really want to get back to the feeling that you had when playing that game. But just to talk about what Activision's track record was just recently, especially with Black Ops 4, they sold the $60 game on top of a $50 battle pass just to feel like you actually had progression, not counting pay-to-win weapons and loot boxes and stuff like that. That's where I'm skeptical of it. It's good to go back to what was working well and try to sell a game that we all know that we want to play and like, but that wasn't features of the old one, and you might actually have what would happen more recently where they don't have them at launch, so the reviews don't actually mention the fact, and they put in the loot box and the microtransactions afterwards. So fingers crossed this one turns out all right, but otherwise people were dropping $200 on this game, and it was not a good idea. So again, fingers crossed. I always want to remain hopeful for games like this. That I did enjoy this game. I know I'm not the biggest shooter game player, but I do hope that the game is good, but the track record almost speaks for itself. So just approach it with a grain of salt, and just know that it's in there, know what you're buying.
I think the issue that I'm thinking of is hopefully it doesn't even really necessarily matter much, because if the campaign truly is a 30-hour fleshed-out story, unless they completely ruin the campaign by somehow putting loot boxes in there, which Call of Duty, at least in its regard has never had a campaign that's required anything to pay. It's always been multiplayer focused. So if the campaign is really good, at least then this game can say, well, yeah, we're being assholes for multiplayer, but we still have a solid single player experience.
Right,
that's what I'm looking at for Modern Warfare. Black Ops, I never liked that series much to begin with because Black Ops 3 was kind of screwed over anyway. But Modern Warfare is kind of the one thing in Call of Duty that's been perfect its all the way through, because I really enjoyed Modern Warfare 3. Even though some people kind of didn't, but I thought that one was really fun still. And all the ones before it were great. So as long as it keeps that trend of good campaigns, if it ruins that, then that's when I officially say Call of Duty is officially like at the point of no return.
That's when you draw the line in the sand, like, nope, not doing it, can't endorse it, nothing.
Yeah, because Modern Warfare...
Which is understandable.
Right. Well, Modern Warfare is the last thing in Call of Duty that still has a very positive reputation. So I'm really hoping they don't ruin that.
But I don't want you. But at the same point, you shouldn't be spending the money for a new console for one game. I think that's pretty stupid.
Yeah, no, and it's true. But if they do that for multiplayer, I would expect that, right? And that's why, they're going to do that in some fashion. I'm just really hoping they don't screw the campaign up because Modern Warfare's campaign is awesome.
As long as the campaig's good.
Yeah, I'm hoping that stays consistent.
Yeah, I would love to see Soap make a comeback.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Yes.
Right?
It's so cool. All
right, is it my turn?
Yeah, go for it.
Or sorry, is it your turn? Do you want to go? Do you want me to go?
No, you go.
All right, okay, I'll go. So I have two of them that I'm going to fit right in here. And one of them is actually one that we really don't talk about these games as much for these kind of videos. This one is The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3. Not many people really know about this series, and it does have a kind of niche audience. So the Legend of Heroes series encompasses all of like the games Trails of Sky, Trails Azure, and Trails of Cold Steel, which has multiple games in one of them. Kind of like that whole umbrella series has each of these own like kind of mini series. But what's really cool about it is it can kind of be related to like the Marvel's Avengers, where each of these characters has their own story and that are interconnected between these. Another reason why I'm mentioning this is because you know about the series that's been going on our channel for a pretty long time. The Ys 8 series was created by a game company called Falcom Games, which is creating this game as well. And these games are always severely underappreciated from the soundtrack side, from the gameplay side, and in terms of developing their character as well. So I'm really excited to see this happen. In terms of what's new that's coming to Trails of Cold Steel 3, there looks to be some kind of mech suits. I'm not sure if that was actually a feature in the other Trails of games, but it did look kind of interesting. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to vary the gameplay as much. And the combat kind of reminds me of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, in terms of where you kind of have certain like link attacks where you kind of have where it's not just like a turn-based combat system of one person attacking. You usually can bring in other characters to kind of like boost your attack. It's more dynamic than just like a turn-based battling system you would originally think on paper. And considering how many Trails of games that they've gone through, I'm sure that they've almost perfected it or gotten to the point where it's pretty damn good at this point. So I'm excited for it. To my knowledge, it kind of is still turn-based though, but it is turn-based to an extent where it does have more of a flow to it than just you pick a move and people attack. Like there's more interactive elements in there. The other one that I'm going to mention shortly is the Alliance Alive HD remaster that's coming for the Switch. The Alliance Alive was originally a 3DS JRPG, one that I would actually recommend to a couple of different people. It's a little polarizing because in terms of gameplay, it's very similar to Final Fantasy II, and the difference with Final Fantasy II is they never did the traditional leveling up system. It was done by, say you use, say that you're barehanded, or you put one of your characters has an axe. The more you use that kind of weapon type, the more you unlock arts that were specifically designed, like specifically for that weapon type. But one of the things that kind of hurt it is that you don't level up HP unless you get hit. So basically, it didn't really matter as much on the enemies that you'd find in the overworld, but it does matter how much that you use the certain weapon type that you have. And what's nice about it is that they have certain systems in the Alliance Alive that really takes advantage of it, and that I don't want to say perfects it because I really didn't enjoy that kind of gameplay as much. It was still fun, but it wasn't as enticing as I thought it was going to be. But it does the Final Fantasy gameplay, Final Fantasy II gameplay, worlds better than what originally Final Fantasy II did. So story-wise, it's not too crazy story-wise. I mean, the world is separated by the daemons into 4 or maybe 5 if you consider the sky part of the sectors by something called the Dark Current. And basically, your war is trying to unite all these different areas in terms to fight back against the daemons. It's a really, I would say it is a pretty fun game. with very underrated music. The composer for this game is Masashi Hamauzu, who did Final Fantasy 13 as well. But yeah, so those are kind of the things I want to highlight on. Also, one of the things that is very unique to it is you have a party of 5 when you're attacking, and you can kind of line up your people in a certain formation. So like you can have more people up front, it'll boost their attack. You can have people in back, which will boost their defense. And the formations actually are really cool in terms of trying to understand what happens, or in terms of fighting the bosses later on. It's very crucial to do so. I don't want to tell people how to do it because it took me a little while, I'll admit that. But either way, the Alliance Alive HD I do still think is a good JRPG, but it is very different. It's not very friendly towards newcomers, but for people who've played a lot of JRPGs and want to see a different kind of leveling up system, you'll probably find this to be pretty unique. Sorry, that was a little lengthy and actually longer than I expected to, but yes, Trails of Cold Steel 3, I'm pretty excited for. The Alliance Alive HD I probably won't get because I already have it for 3DS, but it is worth checking out if you're an RPG veteran.
Yeah, leave it to Nick to find the good JRPGs of the month.
Every time, man. That's just my thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because the Trails of Cold Steel games, I've always heard of them, never tried them. They've always kind of been on my list of things that maybe someday if I get time, and Lord knows how many games come out, we never find time, but yes, something to keep on our radar, I suppose.
Considering it's a Falcom game, I've learned that a lot of Falcom games are very underappreciated, so I have been putting those as more of a priority if I find ones that are on systems that I can play. Like Ys doesn't really come to many consoles and everything. Hopefully, hey, Ys Memories of Celceta might come on PS4 soon. Fingers crossed. It happened in Japan.
Oh, there you go. You never know.
So yeah.
All right, so I'm going to do kind of what Nick did there. I have 2 smaller games that I want to talk about before I get to kind of, I don't know if the main game is my main game, but I feel like it's in theme, so I'm going to save that one. The first game I want to talk about is Doraemon Story of Seasons. I hope I'm saying that right. It's an anime show that's pretty much not exclusively based in Japan, but it's an anime that's very popular in Japan. And all the video games of Doraemon that have come out in the past have never reached a Western audience. This is the first time that Doraemon is going to be in the Western audience. As you can tell by the name of the game, or maybe you can't, but I'm going to tell you, this is a crossover game. So Doraemon is an anime, Story of Seasons, and I made a very complicated video on this a long time ago. Story of Seasons is what Harvest Moon once was. So the Harvest Moon franchise that we all know and love is now called Story of Seasons, and the Harvest Moon franchise that's named Harvest Moon now is something different. So things got totally thrown off because of trademarks and copyright and all of that, but this is basically Doraemon and Harvest Moon mixed together, which I think is kind of hilarious. If you look at pictures of the game, I don't know a lot about Doraemon, so what I see is a giant talking cat that's like really huge and, you know, interacting with different people in the world. So I don't really understand the Doraemon side of things, but anytime I see Story of Seasons, my eyes like light up because I love the Harvest Moon games. I love just very passive games where you get to kind of go through the motion of things, and that's really what this is, right? It's a game where Doraemon and his friends are transported into this new town called Shizen Town, and basically they kind of live their lives out as, you know, members of this town while they're trying to find their way back to the original world. What I don't know is if this game has an ending. This is the question that I always ask myself for Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons games. Usually these games are endless, right? So I don't know if there's going to be some sort of plot development in the end. But what I do know is that these games tend to progress very slowly, right? It's a move at your own pace, kind of enjoy your own life type of game. It's, to me, and it always hurts saying this will be nothing like the old Harvest Moon games like Harvest Moon 64 and A Wonderful Life and all those. This new Story of Seasons games don't have that same appeal, and maybe that's just nostalgia speaking to me, but typically the reviews in the recent games have shown these games typically don't perform as well anymore, and I think that's because of the Natsume split and all of that. But these games still are great. This one is being developed by Marvelous, who's responsible for a lot of those older Harvest Moon games. So there's still a little bit of that old love in it, but they always feel different. But the Story of Seasons games are still a lot of fun. If you enjoy these farming simulator games where you spend a lot of time growing crops, interacting with people, and just relaxing, you know, and playing a very peaceful game, then I'm sure this game would be for you. I don't know a lot about Doraemon, but I promise you when I buy this game, I'm probably going to learn a little bit about it. And this is probably going to be a game that I end up purchasing and try out at some point in the future. So if you're into farming simulation at all or Japanese anime type cartoons, this is the one for you. The second game that I want to talk about here is Ukulele and the Impossible Lair. This game cracks me up. When the original Ukulele came out, everyone said Banjo-Kazooie, right? Ukulele and the Impossible Lair comes out, and everyone's saying, oh, that's Donkey Kong Country.
Well, it's old school Rare developers.
It is. Well, and that's what's funny. It's actually not just old school Rare developers, but old school Donkey Kong Country develop. It's that exact game. And so it's funny because Ukulele, the first game, was an open world game that was very Banjo-Kazooie-esque, right? You go into different worlds and you're trying to find things. This game is 2.5D. So this game actually works like Donkey Kong Country, where you have an overworld map, you jump into levels, and the levels are side-scrolling levels. So this game is not even really a lot like the original Ukulele. It almost just feels like the original is paying homage to one type of game, and the sequel is paying homage to another type of game. Ironically, for me, that makes me want to buy this game more. I think Ukulele might thrive a lot more in this setting. Ukulele has a lot of interesting platform mechanics with rolling around and different types of jumps and everything. So I think it honestly suits the Donkey Kong Country style more in a way, because of the way that you can move in a 2D environment, and the different types of level designs that they have and everything looks awesome. The 3D overworld is also very interactive from what I've seen. There's like traps on the overworld, there's different things to interact with, and so it's not just move from point A to point B like the original Donkey Kong Country games were. There's a lot more interaction going on with the overworld, and so it's very funny to me. This game, I hope, captures the charm. The issue with the original Ukulele is it tried so hard to capture Banjo-Kazooie's charm, but it was too tall of an order, right? Like people want a Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
And I think that was the issue, is it was a dead franchise. People just want Banjo-Kazooie. Donkey Kong Country is not a dead franchise, so I don't think people are going to be as, well, this isn't Donkey Kong, right? Because Donkey Kong games are still being made. So I think this one will still be a little more charming. I don't think people are going to be as uptight about whether or not it's capturing the original style. So I'm hoping that this game does well. I'm really excited for it.
Well, the original Ukulele also had problems with just its collectibles in general. It's a collect-a-thon game, but they didn't have that purpose and that just really fun element of it. Like there's certain like, for example, when you're running around just in a Banjo-Kazooie level, you're just collecting music notes just because it's fun to do so. But they would hide like quills in very weird places that didn't really seem to flow from level to level, and so they really didn't have like that kind of same vision behind the game when they were making it. I do say like Ukulele and the Impossible Lair does look good. I don't think the fault of it was really the characters Yuka and Lele, because by characters they're pretty awesome. I mean, in terms of like how comedic they are and the different forms that they can take, I think is really good. It's just people, what you said, people expected Banjo-Kazooie, not Ukulele. And when you have like an impossible task to live up to that reputation, it's just not going to be as good, especially when Banjo-Kazooie has already made so many other deviations. The first one was almost perfect. So everything from there just seems to be a downgrade, and it's at the point where, they set out for an impossible task, and sadly they weren't able to deliver. But yes, in terms of it's more of a side-scroller game, I think this one should be more simpler, and maybe it can help them realize, like, all right, what did we do that was good, and how can we improve it from there? Because I would like to revisit, because I love 3D collectathons, and I know that they can be good. I don't know if they're willing to re-give it a try, because Ukulele got such mixed reviews.
Right. Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with all of these games.
Agreed. Travis.
Okay, so now because, it is October, we should get some spooks and scares in there. So Nintendo is coming out with Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah.
Which is obviously spooky scary because it's ghosts. So this is a game that has always intrigued me. I've always heard such a great, there's a big following for it. And then everyone seems to be really excited for all the new features it has, like the slam. It kind of makes getting the ghosts, be able to get caught a little faster. Then they also added a little jump, and then they also added the plunger shot, which you can kind of interact with a little more things from the environment. And then they also added some multiplayer things. So
Gooigi.
The Gooigi. So it is a two-player experience. Someone can always be Gooigi if they wanted to. And then there's also the Scare Fest, I believe, was the game mode that was introduced. That can be up to 8 players, where it can be 4v4, Gooigis versus Luigis.
That did look really cool.
Yeah, that did look fun. So I think that is, seeing that intrigued me a little more to possibly getting it. And then the level designs also seemed a lot more interesting than I thought it originally was, because the original showing, it just kind of showed the normal hotel appearance with like some of the quirky little bosses that it always has. But then on the last direct, it showed that there was like a pyramid floor and just like a whole bunch of like historical, like, oh, this is the ancient Egypt floor. So that's it's always fun when you get to like see a whole bunch of different environments. It kind of keeps things a little fresh. I don't know how crazy they're gonna go in terms of being able to actually like do more, because at least from the demo, it looked like you kind of have all of the abilities from the start. So I don't know if gameplay-wise, if it might get stale or not. But
it's a good thing to worry about.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's Luigi's Mansion. I mean, based on the new things that you were telling me about, it doesn't seem like it. I think the original Luigi's Mansion was pretty short. I didn't hear a lot about the 3DS Luigi's Mansion. I know, 3DS nerd, not even know about that one. Bad on me. But really, it seems like they are trying to vary the gameplay, and also the fact that you can do the co-op aspect does mean that Nintendo still knows that some of the things that were amazing about their old school games was the fact that you could play it with a friend. So I really do enjoy that. And as you said, like, there's always a theme to like these kind of levels, and it makes the hotel just seem more than just a haunted mansion or something like that. And I'm sure that they're going to be able to do a lot more with creating a different kind of atmosphere, and that's what I'd be really interested to see.
The one thing that really pisses me off is I hate that they're calling it Luigi's Mansion 3. Like, call me being technical, but there was no Luigi's Mansion 2. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. There was no 2 in the name. So
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know that, but I hate when games do that, where they have a number 1, they don't call the number 2 number 2, and then they call number 3 number 3. Like,
hey, at least it wasn't like Madden, where it called it Madden 20 for no reason at all, other than it's like, oh, it's the 20th Madden that's like ever come out, and now next year it's going to be Madden 20.
Yeah, that is true.
We try not to talk about those games, though.
That one, they did screw that up also. I don't know, but all jokes aside, I mean, it's cool. Luigi's Mansion is a fun franchise. It's definitely a different take on Mario games, and so, whether it gets stale or not, it is nice to see kind of another one come out and see a new, different type of Mario game come out on the Switch, so hopefully
yes,
it ends up being fun.
I definitely wish that it does well, and then if I see that it's getting really good reviews, maybe I'll... Do you know if is there a demo that I can download for it?
I'm sure there's a demo.
There's gotta be something out there.
There's gotta be something. All right, so we moving on to mine?
Do it.
Yep.
All right, the one that we have, and that, as Mike was saying before we started recording this, was why the heck did they choose this one to remaster? But this is going to be Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD Remastered. If you guys know, the Super Monkey Ball franchise, it's very beloved, extremely beloved, and really has not gotten like a really good treatment ever since like 1, 2, and Banana Blitz. They had, I believe, like a Vita game and whatnot. I think a mobile game or something. Nothing really that appealed to that old school Monkey Ball charm that was so much fun to play as. And it seemed like Sega kind of has ignored this franchise for a while. But this time they're remaking Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, which was the one for the Wii, which was one that most people kind of missed out on, which is why I think that this is the one was chosen. I don't know. This is just pure speculation. But just by seeing the gameplay, the graphics are stunning, and I think that works so well with Monkey Ball because it really retains that kind of arcade-like charm that the stages would give to it, and I was really excited for it. I wasn't sure if that there were boss stages in the earlier one. I didn't play a lot of Banana Blitz, but there are boss stages in this, which really does intrigue me because if it is new, awesome. You should fact check me on it because I don't know if it's actually new, but it does seem to retain like that kind of charm that the 1 and 2 original Monkey Ball ones have. There were motion controls also added, which is, I think you kind of saw that coming, especially with like the Switch and with the the HD rumble and whatnot. I think you kind of expected motion controls to be coming with it, so that looks really sweet. And there is multiplayer mini games, just like the Wii version. I remember we did a video on it a while ago. We got stuck on the ring toss version, or in the ring toss mini game. I will say most of the mini games that we did were very fun. I think it was just the ring toss one that made us lose a little bit of our sanity. But yes, there also is a mode for there's a decathlon option which allows you to play multiple mini games one after the other in rapid succession, which is sweet. One thing that I have no idea if it is, but I really want it to happen, but online multiplayer. If there is online multiplayer for it, even if it's for something very minimal, I will probably be picking up this game because that looks like just the nail in the coffin for me.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. And Banana Blitz is a fun game. I mean, like, my belief for the reason that they picked this game to port, I think, is because of the motion controls. I think, you know, the Wii obviously had motion controls, and so I think they're probably like, well, Switch has even better motion controls. We have all this stuff, so let's just port that game over. Because then I don't know if they would have had to redesign the original Monkey Balls to make motion control work a little better. I don't know exactly the reason, but I don't know. It's just the original Monkey Ball courses had so many more like memorable courses. I think those are the ones held in people's hearts. But I get this one was probably the easiest one to do, and I mean at least it's a Super Monkey Ball thing, right? Like I don't want to be too picky because Super Monkey Ball, for all intents and purposes, has pretty much been dead outside of like sporadic iPhone and Vita games coming out. So it's nice to see Monkey Ball returning to console again. Because outside of Banana Blitz, there really hasn't been much since the GameCube time. And the GameCube had a lot, but then it kind of went cold silent. And so it is nice to see that this franchise is still alive, you know?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Banana Blitz released in like 2008, and it's 2019 now, so it's been a while.
Yeah, and like phone games, I don't really count for anything, so... So it's nice to see that, you know, the franchise is getting some love. I mean, like you mentioned, you know, there's a lot of interesting things in it. Like this game had so many different mini games to play, and so it has a lot of fun for a lot of different people. It's not just the typical beat a level, though that's the part of Monkey Ball that everyone enjoys. So I'm probably going to pick it up because I enjoy playing Monkey Ball, and it seems fun to play it on the Switch and to play it on the go and all that. But I'm hoping that this is a sign that there's more Monkey Ball games to come. If this is the only Monkey Ball thing to come out for another 5 years, I'm not going to be happy, right? This is not going to quench my thirst, but I'm hoping it's at least a sign that, hey, we still like Monkey Ball and we're working on stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. Sega is just such in a weird place in my mind. Like, Valkyria Chronicles is great. Sonic Mania was great. I'm trying to be positive, but man, if they're focusing so much on 3D Sonic and they can't even get that right, just go back to what we know is good.
Yeah, and it's not like it's hard to make, so we will see. All
right, bring us on home.
So, and it's funny, this game, like I said, I don't even know if it's my main game, but I wanted to talk about it because it's really in theme, kind of like Travis with Luigi's Mansion 3. I'm talking about a game that's actually coming out on Halloween, and that is Moons of Madness, which is, I love the way they classify this game. They're calling it a cosmic horror game. It takes place on Mars, so it's a space type of game, and it's a horror game. So it's a survival type game. You're a space pilot that isn't quite sure if he's hallucinating or if he's seeing real monsters. But if you look through the gameplay and if you look through the footage, first of all, there's a lot of tentacles, which, you know, is always interesting to see in horror games. There's plenty of people getting grabbed and circled up by tentacles and everything. But what really stood out to me more than anything else is the artistic style of the game. I can't get a grasp on it. It doesn't look realistic, but it looks really beautiful, right? And so, like, I don't know how else to describe it. Like, they weren't going for realistic graphics, but it looks beautiful in a realistic way, which, you know, again, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense.
Is it,
but
kind of like the Borderlands type of art style where it...
in a way, it's a very unique art style because the graphics look really nice for a horror game. And granted, there's not a lot of horror games that have great graphics. I feel like scary games don't usually try to nail hyperrealism. Usually graphics get pushed on the wayside. For example, the hair from Resident Evil 7 was the worst animated hair I've ever seen in any video game. Or
I remember that. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, and Outlast as a whole just graphically did not blow anyone away, which is fine. They don't try for that. But I feel like this game just had its own unique style with it. It's more meant to just kind of be a psychological horror, right? You're in this place and you don't know what's going on. The big word that I keep hearing that keeps coming back to place is Lovecraft, right? It's very Cthulhu-esque with how it looks. But I just like the idea of getting to kind of explore your own setting. There's so many horror games that have the same tropes, right? You're exploring a mansion. You're, running around an asylum and things like that. And all the tropes are kind of the same. That I like that this game is a cosmic horror game. It's on another planet. You see less of that, right? And I guess Dead Space falls under that. as far as the hallucinations and outer space goes. But outside of that, there's not a lot of space-themed horror games.
Alien.
Right, Alien Isolation. But even then, that wasn't like... That was scary
Yeah.
just because you had a big monster chasing you.
Right.
This one is different in terms of like the hallucinations and everything. And so the whole supernatural scientific exploration idea of it really interests me. I don't want to say anything, but on Halloween, if I'm not doing anything, that might be a fun game to kind of purchase and do a little stream of on Halloween night. I don't know. There's a lot of things to think about. And so if you're interested in horror games and you're kind of looking for something a little bit new and different, this might be a fun game to check out. And it comes out Halloween night, so it might be a fun game to kind of just pick up and play on Halloween night. So it seems interesting. We'll see.
I mean, hopefully it'll turn out good.
Yeah.
Really, horror games that get released on Halloween, I'm sure that's been done before.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there's almost everything has been done before, but I'm wondering if that's enough to get people, because usually it's like there is a build up to it. I mean, I'm wondering if they chose that day just because they can say it's getting released on Halloween, or I don't know. I'm always skeptical of games that are like released on a holiday like that, because I feel like not a ton of people would be getting it day one. I don't know. I'm not a day one buyer, so maybe I'm not their audience that they're looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not an expensive game. I had it up, and I don't know how much it cost exactly, but it's an indie-esque game. It's not like a big like AAA type game. So, I mean, my guess would be I want to say $30. I wish I could pull it up real fast, but for some reason I can't get there. It's loading right now. But so I don't know if that's maybe part of the reason why that I think it's just a smaller type game, like you said. So maybe they thought, hey, this is a good way to get some attention, is to have our game get released on Halloween night. It actually doesn't list the price on Steam. That's interesting. So I don't know how much it's going to be, but it's a game to think about. So it'll be exciting, something different, and we'll see.
All right. Well, I mean, overall, good month.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing too crazy. Not like really any big releases besides like Luigi's Mansion, I would say.
Right. Yeah, so just to kind of close things off, there is one other game I wanted to mention slightly. None of us chose it because I don't think any of us are like super interested in buying it, but it is an important game, and that's called The Outer Worlds.
I forgot about that one. Thank you.
It's a futuristic kind of sci-fi RPG, which again is a phrase you don't say a whole lot. Sci-fi RPG. I guess Horizon Zero Dawn falls in that vein a little bit with robots and futurism, but it seems very unique. And I like I said, I don't know a lot about it. Maybe Nick can talk a little more about it. But any Western RPG style like that, I usually get really into, and so it looks very fun. I know a lot of people are excited about it, so it's definitely something worth mentioning.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I don't know a ton about the Outer Worlds. I remember it did get under some scrutiny because I believe it's an Epic Store exclusive for a while. Cannot remember off the top of my head, but if so, then it might have a little bit of controversy. But I mean, I'll definitely see how the reviews are going to be. But overall, it is. I forgot it is a big release though. Mm-hmm. No, damn, I didn't prepare for this one. Well, we're excited for it. That's what you need to know.
No, yeah, we can all understand it's a big release, but none of us are excited for it, so no point in like discussing it that much anyway. Other things just to kind of throw out there: Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is coming to Switch, which is awesome. A lot of us have been waiting for that, so if you've been wanting to play Witcher on the Switch, your chance is coming up this month. Ghost Recon Breakpoint is the next Ghost Recon game. Those games come out like Call of Duty games, so all online, fun stuff there. And then there's another Lovecraft game coming out. Speaking of Lovecraft earlier, which will be a fun little horror point-and-click adventure game. And so a lot of little things for everyone that's coming out this month. There's point-and-click, obviously a lot of horror games, Luigi's Mansion, a little bit of something for everyone. And so it'll be a fun month. I enjoy months like this because everyone's getting something different. And so on that note, let us know in the comments what you will be purchasing, because I don't know what's going to be the big game of the month that a lot of people are going to buy, and so we always love hearing what you guys are interested in picking up, or if there's anything we didn't talk about that you will be picking up, please let us know in the comments. We're always looking for new and fun games to, if not play, at least read up and learn a little bit more about. So, with that being said, thanks everyone for watching this, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Adios.